By the rivers of Babylon, yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying.
Shalom, shalom family, and welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Zurishaddai, one of the teachers of Congregation CHOKMAH BINAH, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. Our address 382 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11231. Thanking the creator of heaven and earth for all things and everything, food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Thanking the creator for all of your lives and the lives of Yisrael scattered to the four corners of the earth. We thank you for joining us today in our early Shabbat Shalom to everyone out there, praying that the creator of heaven and earth has blessed you with the endeavors of your mind, the things that you desire in righteousness. And I pray and I hope that the Most High God will continue to bless each and every one of us. As we stand here today, we give glory to the Most High and we thank him for all that he has done for us. Food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Hallelujah. So today, we will be delving into Proverbs chapter 14. And that would be done by none other than one of my teachers and one of my mentors, even Nasik. Zurishaddai ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
Great, Baruch Hashem. First of all, I'd like to praise the Supreme Eternal Universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. Due respect to the platform, I'm on a spiritual leader, Chief Prince Ariel, on the D.C.B. platform. And also to the host, Chief Uzel, to the Prince's Chief, Rabbinate, Kohanim, Maureen, brothers and sisters. Greet you all in the tongue of my forefathers. Shalom Aleichem and an early Shabbat Shalom. I'll be talking on Proverbs 14. That's what we'll be up to, Proverbs 14, Mishlei. But also I like to touch on part of the Sidra. You know, most people say Va'era, which is the way they pronounce it. I'll say Va'era, but it's just a pronunciation difference. And I will appear, and it's similar to things in the past. But first off, I'd like to say, Adonai Sabtai Takupiyagi Tiladeaka, O Lord, on my lips and my mouth should declare thy praise. When we look back at the title of this particular Sidra, we have a similar Sidra when the Lord appeared under Abraham and early up in Genesis, and when the three angels was hosted by our father Abraham, and he had was promised that he was going to have a son named Isaac. So here we have, and I will appear. So this is the Creator talking to Moshe, but we know we last left off in the book of Shemot. Like I said, it was about names, but we have a lot of anonymous people, as far as names not being revealed in the early part, but their jobs and their position and whatever they did been very much explained. And what's interesting throughout this whole saga, we never find the name of one of the major adversary, which is Pharaoh himself, throughout this whole saga, or the one that acted the daughter of the previous Pharaoh that raised up Moses. So it's those things is still somewhat argumentative between various groups of people. We also find, I'm going to address a question that was brought to me well, one is a statement that Moses' mother, Moses might have had difficulty feeding. She might have had difficulty feeding her son if she got to hide him for X amount of time, 3 months. But the difficulty is watching out for who might reveal that she have a child in the house. And when they say that he's a goodly child, he didn't cry often. So evidently, it was some miraculous area where she was able to hold him for 3 months without him being too noticeable with crying. And I know sometimes when people that have children know they cry any time of night. Their clock is their clock, not your clock. So those things that she had, a magnanimous job to do, Moses' mother. But so he wasn't deprived being fed at no time. And later on, we know when the daughter of Pharaoh had picked him out of the basket, that she had Moses' mother feed him and paid her wages to raise the child, make sure he eat well. So it's a couple of things I didn't, focus on about that much at the time, is that she technically obeyed the edict of Pharaoh by putting her child amongst the Nile, within the Nile, in the river. But she didn't just toss him out there without a safety net. So, and later on, as we go into Proverbs, you talk about a wise woman building a house. Well, she's considered through Midrashic circles as a wise woman. And we know she had to be wise because she found a technicality and loophole. Pharaoh's daughter also realized the woman did put the child in the Nile. It didn't say that though they was cast in the Nile, that they must die. It's automatically assumed, because you got hippos in the Nile, you got crocs in the Nile, and you have all kind of other fish and stuff like that in the Nile. So there's other creatures in the Nile that could readily just feast off of the infant. The edict was throw all, have all the people to throw the child in the Nile. Now, one thing I didn't focus on at the time, when it became a national policy for all the Egyptians to participate in that, is that some people, though some comply, I'm sure there had to be some people that's reluctant to comply with such a harsh edict. But a great deal did comply with the edict. And can you imagine going to a guy's house and forcibly taking a child and throw him in the river? If the mother and the father did resist it, they risked the penalty of being put to death, because it was a Pharaoh's edict. I was discussing earlier that though the two women, it's always a controversy, two commentaries, and I just want to bring that out there because I was discussing it earlier. I made sure about some people had certain views, and one view is that these were Hebrew women. Shifra and Puah was Hebrew women, and it was over a particular group of women that dealt with the actual midwife situation and birth, and help the women, Hebrew women, bring forth children. Now, that's one area you could think of, and that's the most rabbinic circles lean to that. But it's also, and I must be fair to say, there's also another viewpoint on there. I lean to the traditional viewpoint myself, just to alleviate what position I take. But it's the other viewpoint where the women themselves didn't necessarily have to be Hebrew women in that sense. And so that's so the other viewpoint is because they could have been, and they don't necessarily could have been an Egyptian. They could have been just slaves. And we're gonna find a difference later on, because we think of just the Israelites being slaves, but they had other slaves in Egypt other than Israelites. And we're going to find that out in this particular portion of Sidra. And what's interesting when we find that out in this particular portion of Sidra is that when we talk about the different slaves, the slave in Egypt was held in higher authority than that of the Israelite person in Egypt. So that means they had more status. They had much more status than the actual people, the children of Israel. So those are some things going forward. And I'd like to address another question that was asked, which was presented in the comment, is that why, the question was asked, why Moses and Aaron was able to appear before Pharaoh, pretty much, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, and be able to predict all these catastrophe and drama to upon Egypt and upon Pharaoh's people, and able to not only come into Pharaoh's presence, but to leave without being executed for that. And I will address that more so later on in this particular portion. But the Creator, once the Creator sends you, you already got a passport. You already got an invitation. But I will address it a little bit more, and perhaps you could discuss it more with various teachers, because that is a valid question. A man coming in, telling you about your economy, telling you about a God that you don't really understand and know, with a name that you haven't really seen utilized, worldwide, and talking about let a people go. Now, mind you, this is not, this is not actually the same, the same Pharaoh that actually was acting as a father biological to Moses. This is not actually the same Pharaoh that wanted to slay Moses from the beginning, because the Pharaoh that wanted, the king that wanted to slay Pharaoh, God told Moses before he went there that all the people that sought your life are dead. So, but this is a question that we're going to explore a little later, but just to save time, there's so much going on in the early parts of this portion. So I'm going to start from just the top a little bit before I go into the Proverbs. And it starts from the 6th chapter, 2nd verse, and it goes all the way to the 9th chapter, and it ends at the very end of the 9th chapter. It's concluded in the 9th chapter. I like to leave off. We go back to where we left off in the last Sidra, from the 22nd verse of the 5th chapter. And Moses returned unto the Lord and said, Lord, wherefore hast thou dealt ill with this people? Why is it that thou hast sent me? For since I came to Pharaoh to speak in thy name, he hath dealt ill with this people, neither hast thou delivered thy people at all. Now, that's how we left off. That's kind of rough. And you say, this guy talking to the Creator like that, talking very bold to the Creator, such as that. And you would wonder, why would God tolerate that from this individual, Moses? But when we look at it carefully, Moses is concerned not about himself. He is actually concerned about the treatment of a people. And his presence made their treatment worse from the powers that be in Egypt at that time. So the anxiety, though he spoke so boldly and bluntly to the creator of heaven and earth, that the creator will see his compassion for other people so boldly. And we see a little similarity of that when Abraham said, I take upon myself concerning righteous individual, not so much Sodom as a whole, but the righteous individual that might be in Sodom. And when you think about that, you say, well, do he know there's possibly could be that many righteous individuals? And if there are, he should be able to point them out. If it's only 50 people, when he started off, he should have been able to point out 10 when he started off. But evidently, he didn't have no contact. Perhaps the righteous people might have been hiding out, but he knew he had a nephew there. But that's another story. So we're gonna move on. And it said, it picks up. I'm gonna finish it off there. And the Lord said unto Moses, now shalt thou see what I will do to Pharaoh, for by a strong hand shall he let them go, and by a strong hand shall he drive them out of his land. Now, if I'm letting somebody go because you're supposed to go, then why I got to drive you out? That's number one. Why I got to make sure I send you out? Abraham was escorted out when he was in Egypt, and Pharaoh was getting played. The king of Egypt at the time was being played because of Sarai, his wife, and he was escorted out of the land of Egypt. Now here, we got to be driven out. And it goes on to say, second verse, part of the Sidra, beginning of the Sidra YAH. And the Lord spoke unto Moses and said unto him, I am the Lord, and I appeared unto Abraham, unto Isaac, unto Jacob, as God Almighty, El Shaddai. But by my name, YAH, I made me not known to them, and I have also established my covenant with them to give them the land of Canaan, the land of their sojourning, wherein they sojourn. And moreover, I have heard the groaning of the children of Israel, whom the Egyptians keep in bondage, and I have remembered my covenant. So, first of all, I'd like to stop there, because a lot of people make assume Abraham never knew the Tetragrammaton, the name YAH. What is this? It's in the Hebrew, Nodati. He wasn't not caused to be known. He wouldn't recognize me in that vein, in that venue, and yet they lived off of a promise and they stayed faithful. They left off that promise and didn't have no real complaints against the Creator. So here it is. You coming back. You were saved from people that want to destroy you, and your wife saved you. And I'm saying to people to help deliver those people, and now you upset, and they were satisfied with a promise, and that was it. And that's all they had, but they were satisfied and kept their faith on a promise. So this is the Creator in a gentle way admonishing the prophet Moses, the man Moses at this time. And he said, wherefore say unto the children of Israel, I am the Lord, and I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians, and I will deliver you from their bondage, and I will redeem you with the outstretched arm and with great judgments, and I will take you to me for a people, and I will be to you a God. And you shall know that I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of from under the burdens of the Egyptians. I will bring you in unto the land concerning which I lift up my hand to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, and I'll give it you for an heritage. Notice that heritage. I am the Lord. And Moses spoke so unto the children of Israel, but they hearkened not unto Moses for impatience of spirit and for cruel bondage. Shortness of ruach. So they got beaten down. The work got so hard. Things were so oppressive that though Moses went back to explain these things to them, and these also in this particular section, it talks about 4 types of deliverance. There's a 5th one that people talk about what happened in the future, but basically 4 types of deliverance that's spoken on here, and from the Jerusalem Talmud, because most times most of the rabbinic halakhic viewpoints and things that we observe, most people observe traditionally, is from the Babylonian, the Bachli, the Bachli Talmud, from the Babylonian Talmud. But the 4 cups of wine that people have at a Passover Seder, Passover, for those that may not be familiar with the terms, when they're observing Passover dinner that night, and they talk about the Passover story, and they have 4 cups of wine. I don't drink wine myself, but 4 cups of wine, and they relate it to the 4 types of redemptions that's going to go on. The 4 promises that the Creator brought in this particular portion right here, and that's what they allude to from the Jerusalem Talmud, which very few people realize. They figure it's basically straight up from the rabbinic, from the Babylonian, but that was started from the Jerusalem Talmud on the 4 cups. And when Pesach, I'm sure when you have your Seder that night, when people go through the story, they're going to elaborate a little bit more some of the different customs and stuff or traditions that they use and observe during that particular time. So when they're, Moses now, if the people didn't listen to him, then he goes back and the Lord spoken to Moses saying, go in and speak unto Pharaoh, king of Egypt, that he let the children of Israel go out of the land. And Moses spoke before the Lord, saying, behold, the children of Israel have not hearkened unto me. How then shall Pharaoh hear me, who am of uncircumcised lips? Different term before, different term that he used earlier. Talk about a tongue before, heaviness of his tongue, but yet now he said uncircumcised lips. So if I can't get my own people to listen to me, how can I even speak to Pharaoh? And what we find here is that the people with shortness of spirit, they got beat down so bad where they had to get their own straw to make the bricks. And they're not supposed to slack off on the tally of the bricks that they made. But we don't realize, some of us rather, the king didn't realize that though he said that they must find their own straw, part of the ingredients to make the bricks for the buildings that they need to do in the projects, that they must keep the same quota, that not only they subject to come up short, the Israelites, people, in making the bricks, but also the Egyptians also is still short on their product, the quantity of their product. So it not only affects the Israelites, but it also will affect the Egyptian economy. But sometimes people don't realize that they will cause another person harm, and also it reflects and could cause harm someplace else. And so this show you the mentality of Pharaoh at this particular time. And also Moses was told from the beginning the job was going to be hard. He said Pharaoh ain't going to let him go. And we're going to find out that Moses come to a certain type of realization later on. And I'm trying to speed through this a little bit. And it said, All right. And the Lord spoke unto Moses and to Aaron and gave them a charge unto the children of Israel and said, and unto Pharaoh and king of Egypt to bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. Now we're gonna go forward, and it says, these are the heads of their fathers' houses. The sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, Kanah, Pula, Hezron, and Kami. These are the families of Reuben. And the sons of Simeon, Yemuel, Jasmine, Ohad, and Yakin, and Zohar, and Shaul, the son of a Canaanitish woman. Strange saying, but that's another story. These are the families of the Simeonites. And these are the names of the sons of Levi, according to their generations: Gershon, and Kohath, and Merari. And the years of the life of Levi was 137 years. The sons of Gershon, Libnah, and Shimei, according to their families. The sons of Kohath, Amram, Issah, and Hebron, and Uzziel. And the years of the life of Kohath was 133 years. And the sons of Merari, Machlah, and Mushi. These are the families of the Levites according to their generations. And Amram took him Jochebed, his father's sister, to wife, which is his aunt. We read about that earlier. The unnamed come named now. And she bore him Aaron and Moses. And the years and the life of Amram were 137 years. Lived the same amount of Levi, the original Levi. And the sons of Issah, Korah, and Nephah, and Zachri, some people say. And the sons of Uzziah, Mishael, Elshaphan, and Sidri. And Aaron took him Elisheba, the daughter of Aminadab, the sister of Nachshon, to wife. And she bore him Nadab, and Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. And the sons of Korah, Asir, and Elkanah, and Abiasaph. And these are the family of the Korathites. And Eleazar, Aaron's son, took him one of the daughters of Putiel to wife, and she bore him Pinchas. And these are the heads of the fathers of the house of the Levites according to their families. All right, before I get into the next verse, and the reason I'm reading all this out, because a lot of times we tend to speed through those particular areas there. One, it gives it a little bit of the genealogy of only 3 tribes out of the 12. And oddly enough, it goes, and we got some part of genealogy in the early part of Shemot. But here now, why go back over this particular thing of genealogy and what's there to prove? And we find also, when we look at the ages, the most that Levi could have been older than Joseph, which basically maybe by 5-6 years, 5 years at the most, maybe 4. So 4 years older than so when Joseph died at 110, Levi had to be at least 114. The original Levi, the tribe of original patriarch of that tribe, 114. So he lived a good little while after Joseph had passed. And all the other brothers, live along with Joseph, which is strange, but that's another story. I don't want to go into that now. Just want to highlight a couple of points. And one of the things when we look further is that these 3 tribes, when Jacob was blessing those people in the beginning of the blessings in 49th chapter of Genesis, when he was throwing out the blessings, it seemed that he was kind of harsh on these 3 guys. He was harsh on Reuben. He was harsh on Simeon and Levi. He was harsh on those 3 tribes. And yet, when we're talking about this particular portion of the book, it's only these 3 tribes being enumerated. And so to let you know that, and then it goes further into one particular area of the Levites, the Levitical tribe. And Moses' lineage. So it proves, because some people would say, because Moses had like an Egyptian type name, which has Hebrew meaning, but it's Egyptian type name. And we know that Putiel is more of an Egyptian type name. You'll find that it's interesting that there's somebody else in here I just overlooked that had also part of an Egyptian name itself. Oh, Pincus itself. He had, that was part of an Egyptian type name as well. And so this just shows they were starting to get a little bit acculturated in the Egyptian society. Remind you of later on Babylonian names. Later on, during the Greek Empire, Greek names, and today, one of the things I find uniquely different from the circles I grew up under, and say a regular Jewish synagogue, is that most of the circles I grew up under, when a person had a name, it was a Hebrew name. It wasn't if you follow a tradition, you went up to the Torah scroll and you just say, what's your name? It was straight up a Hebrew name. And whereas around my circles. So, but kind of, find it uniquely different in the sense that in most of the say Jewish synagogues, that's somewhat more traditional. You know a guy by AKA, well, was his government name, and then when he got the AKA as his Hebrew name. So I find that a little bit uniquely different, but that I just want to point those things out, that it's not. It's been some things that are similar in our ancient history amongst our people. So as we go further, and you can always discuss that amongst the various congregations and stuff of that nature. I just happen to be, my children's name are their name. They don't have a Hebrew name and a government name, some strange American name. They named all my children, daughters and sons and daughters, are all Hebrew names. First, last, and only. That's the kind of background I grew up under. All right, so when we go further into the portion, why bring out about this particular Moses? Why bring out his pedigree and Aaron's pedigree? And you notice they didn't talk about their sister Miriam, who we know is actually the older sister, and Moses had a sister that was older. So why they don't talk about her in this particular point? But yet it talk about Aaron and who he married, and it gives Aaron's wife name and a brother's name. And you say, well, why it don't mention her father? Why it mentions her brother? So it's a lot of things in reference to that, but I'm not going to speak on it. Y'all could discuss those things amongst yourselves. But we also had a leading guy with Rebecca. Her brother Laban seemed to be more of the aggressive talker and to the unnamed servant when he went to get a right for Isaac. So you find Laban doing more talking than you find Bethuel, her actual father. But in this case, why is it that we talk about the Nachshon, the brother, in that sense, the father being good enough. All right. So the daughter of Aminadab, the sister of Nachshon, to wife. Why is it important that this is given? Aaron gonna be the first high priest. His pedigree got to be impeccable. Going down the line, looking down the line. Moses and them bringing out this genealogy is showing that I'm not coming to you as the Pharaoh and to the king of Egypt as a nobody. It's important for me to come before you to let you know that I have prestigious pedigree. I came here, as a descendant of VIPs. Remind you, there's a king that came up to Egypt, refused to say, did not know Joseph. So there's a king that sat on the throne that did not know Joseph. But here it is, Moses here, when the book bring out this pedigree, it is showing that Moses himself come from aristocratic family. Though the family and this people is reduced to the area of slaves. That means below the regular slaves in that area. So that's what's important. And these are some things to consider. So that's one of the reasons why he could stand and be proud of his background, of his family tree. And then it goes on to say, the 26th verse, these are that Aaron and Moses, to whom the Lord said, bring out the children of Israel from the land of Egypt according to their hosts. These are they that spoke to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to bring out the children of Israel from Egypt. These are that Moses and Aaron. And it came to pass on the day when the Lord spoke unto Moses in the land of Egypt, that the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, I am the Lord, speak thou unto Pharaoh, king of Egypt, all that I speak unto thee. And Moses said before the Lord, behold, I am uncircumcised lips. How shall I speak to how shall Pharaoh hearken unto me? And the Lord, in 7th chapter, said to Moses, see, I set thee in God's stead to Pharaoh, and Aaron thy brother shall be thy prophet. Thou shalt speak all that I command thee, and Aaron thy brother shall speak unto Pharaoh, that he let the children of Israel go out of the land. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt. But Pharaoh will not hearken unto you. And I will lay my hand upon Egypt, and bring forth my hosts, my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt, by great judgments. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, when I stretch forth my hand upon Egypt, and bring out the children of Israel from among them. And Moses and Aaron did so as the Lord commanded. So they did they. And Moses was 80 years, which is 80. And Aaron was 83 years old when they spoke unto Pharaoh. All right. The age is given there to teach you a lesson. They just really started their job in a commission in a society where they don't respect elders. It shows that these guys, elders, still have a prominent role to play in society. In America, they tend to push the elders to the side, get rid of them. They're living too long. They're taking up space, especially if you're collecting Social Security or pension. You don't deserve that. So these are things that the elders was important, because Moses was told in the beginning of his journey, in his mission, to assemble the elders of Israel. All right, and then that Aaron is 3 years older than Moses. So we also get some other information that the edict of getting rid of the children was after Aaron's time. That's what we get from this. Since he's 3 years older than Moses, that's where we get that edict. We know the edict was after Aaron was born, because he wasn't under no threat where his mother had to hide him. And also, it didn't last long. The edict only existed for a short while. So, and these numbers is explaining a lot of information too. Also, it gives you talk about 4 generations. Only 4 generations that we actually down in Egypt. Moses himself being a 4th generation, Aaron being a 4th generation. So when we look at the different genealogy, it's on 4 generations. So a lot of times people say 430 years, because we see that in the book. But when you do the actual math, we only basically was in Egypt for 210 years in this situation from the time that Jacob went down. But that's another story to be discussed amongst the various teachers. All right, so we know automatically. I'm just going to speed through some of this stuff. I see I'm talking a little bit long now, but I have to read some of this stuff here because you might it might not be doing justice to some of the other points I might want to bring out. And the Lord spoke unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, "Oh, before I go further, that now what we find here that's unique. Before I go further, not only that Moses is not only coming to this pedigree is not only brought out in this particular portion, and Aaron's pedigree as well, but Moses now is brought on the level of a god, to Pharaoh, because Pharaoh considered himself a god. So Moses himself, he is going to be on that same level. Aaron going to be his prophet. So hence, Moses, though we know he's a prophet of the Lord, but he's only called that towards the end. Aaron was the first person, as far as Israelite goes, other than Abraham, as far as an Israelite goes, that was actually called a prophet. And he was Moses' prophet. And the Nabi really means one that's a speaker. Sometimes, supposed to be a divine spokesperson, but it's basically a spokesperson. That's what the basic meaning of a prophet is, a spokesperson, not so much to be able to see the future, but a spokesperson on behalf of somebody, an authority. So just like Joseph spoke through an interpreter, Moses himself is going to be shown as a greater level on Pharaoh, a greater level where Pharaoh think of him as a god. Pharaoh will now recognize Moses as being a god, and also that Aaron being his prophet or messenger. And it's so it kind of remind you of some say gangster movies, so to speak, where you don't speak to me directly, you speak to so and so, and I can hear you, but you speak to so and so, and he'll speak to me because you're not on my level. That's the way it's, and in some societies it's like that too. Ancient societies, you don't speak directly to the person in charge. You speak to their go-between. We have the a fortune to be able to cry out directly to the Creator. When the nation had issues, then the priest, we could talk to the priest, and the priest could talk to the Creator on our behalf. But the priest amongst Israelites only represent man. He don't represent God. He represent man. The Pope, on the other hand, represent God in their areas. So Moses himself is going to be recognized by Pharaoh. And I'm just going to read a couple of things on the context here. And the Lord said, spoken to Moses and unto Aaron, saying, when Pharaoh shall speak unto you, say, show a wonder for you, then thou shalt say unto Aaron, take thy rod and cast it down before Pharaoh, that it become a serpent. So can you imagine if God sent you? If somebody told me God sent you, if somebody said God sent them, I want to know exactly. You got any proof? You got any credentials? You got any ID? Can you do something? Can you demonstrate? So the Creator already know this what Pharaoh going to say. Since you're talking about God sent you, I need to know. And Moses and Aaron went in unto Pharaoh, and they did so as the Lord had commanded. And Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh and before his servants, and it became a serpent. Then Pharaoh also called the wise men and the sorcerers, and they also, the magicians of Egypt, did in like manner with their secret arts. But they cast down every man his rod, and they became a serpent. But Aaron's rod swallowed up their rod, and Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hearkened not unto them as the Lord has spoken. So one of the things I want to bring out as we go through this here particular portion a little bit, and you got to forgive me for taking a little while before I get to the Proverbs, is that One, Pharaoh wasn't impressed with the skill that Moses and Aaron possessed. He called for his magicians, his wise men, and they did what they did. I said, normally the difference is Aaron was told, just throw the rod down. No incantations, no mumble jumbles, no none of that kind of stuff. But the magicians of Egypt had to go through all kind of incantations and different things and routines in order for their rod to look like a serpent. And the word they use for here is tanim, which is a word that's used in the part of the torah itself. And it's a different word from what we find originally, which was nakash, and when Moses threw it down. And it said the rod ate up the rod. So then you know it's strictly a rod. And one of the things when we look at the conditions is that when you talk about a miracle, we got miracles versus tricks. So we got miracles versus tricks. You got incantation versus God without an incantation. So you got the contest there. You got to say something. I don't have to say anything. I just throw it down and it do what it do. Where you got to go through all this here. And a magician is never amazed by what he do, ever. He know this is what I do. So he's not amazed. So he was there to amaze other people. A magician looks down on the people that he's tricking because he said, I'm smarter than you. You can't figure this out. You can't do this. All right. So you excited. But for me, it's just a walk through the park. Whereas when Aaron threw it down, a miracle, said, wow, I'm amazed and the people are amazed and it worked without me doing anything. So you're hoping and amazed that it actually worked that way for you, because this is now Aaron's first contest with somebody else, and Moses telling him to throw it down and telling him what it should turn into. So this is one of the things that we find here. And what we find out there says hardened, Pharaoh hardened, Pharaoh's heart was hardened. We find, and when you look carefully, 5 times that the first 5 situations that go down plagues, makos, Pharaoh hardened his own heart before you read about God actually hardened Pharaoh's heart. So, so when you look at it carefully, and I always tell people look at the text carefully because there's a moral issue. If God was going to harden Pharaoh's heart, how can you blame Pharaoh for not letting the people go? And so, and it would seem, injustice to Pharaoh to hold him accountable if I can't make my heart do what I want to do. But when you look at it carefully and read it, and I tell everybody to read this here carefully, you'll find when the Creator actually gets involved in hardening Pharaoh's heart. But Pharaoh hardened his own heart and made himself, and it was not just Pharaoh alone as we get further down, but I won't be able to cover everything in that area. And and the Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh's heart is stubborn. He refused to let the people go. All right. This is what God telling Moses. Pharaoh's heart is stubborn. Not that I had something to do with that. That's the way he is. That's his makeup. In the 14th verse of the 7th chapter, it said, he refused to let the people go. Get thee unto Pharaoh in the morning. Lo, he goeth out to the water, and thou shalt stand by the river brink to meet him. And the rod which was turned to a serpent, thou shalt take in thy hand, and thou shalt say unto him, the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, has sent me unto thee, saying, let my people go, that they may serve me in the wilderness. And behold, hitherto thou hast not hearkened. Thus said the Lord, And this shalt thou know that I am the Lord. Behold, I will smite with the rod that is in my hand upon the waters which are in the rivers, and they shall be turned to blood, and the fish that are in the river shall die, and the river shall become foul, and the Egyptians shall loathe to drink from the water of the river. And the Lord said unto Moses, say unto Aaron, take thy rod and stretch thy hand over the waters and the rivers. So Aaron actually did this act. The first 3 plagues, and the plagues we talk about, is broken in 3 sections. I don't have to be able to cover every plague, but I'm just going to touch on a few. That it was in 3 sections. 1, every 3rd plague came without a warning. That means the first 2, first and second plague, I'm telling you what's going to go down. 3rd plague just happened. Then the 4th, 5th plague, I'm telling you what's going down. The 6th plague, they're going to hit you. Then the 7th, 8th plague, I'm telling you what's going to go down. And the 9th plague, going to hit you. Also, you're going to find that there's also another section. So when you break down the plagues after 10, and plus the last plague, 10th, he was told. When we deal with the plagues and look at it closely, that Aaron did first 3. He handled the first 3. Then you find God in between all that. And then you find Moses handling the 3rd series of 3s. And then you find the Creator taking care of the last hurrah. So, so when you study the plagues and you look at it very carefully, there's a lot of lessons to be learned from looking at the plagues and really concentrating on it. Now we know it's against the gods of Egypt. I'm not going to go into. I know other brother, one of my good young brothers, Rabbi Chief Yaman, does a thing that breaks down with the gods of Egypt. But and so it's not only against Pharaoh, but it's also against the different belief systems that's being broken down. So, and when we talk about the Nile, the water, the river, that's the life-giving. It's the gift of the Nile, and the river is the life source of Egypt. And there's a lot of stuff that goes on with that. Then we know after that action that the Egyptians did the same thing. The magicians did the same thing. Is that, and all the Egyptians, we could skip down to the 24th verse in that same chapter 7. And all the Egyptians dug around the river for water to drink, but they could not drink the water of the river. And 7 days were fulfilled. After that, the Lord had smitten the river. All right, so we know automatically that the magicians was able to do the same thing with the incantations. Aaron just stretched out the hand over the water. He didn't hit it, slap it, do anything. Mind you, later on when Yom Suf opened up, and Moses just waved the staff on and the water just parted. So Aaron just was able to stretch it out, and that was it. These guys, they had to go through a whole lot of hoopla when you wonder, why is it if you got a magician that can create this, why don't you say, look, stop this, turn it off, right? But they could do a little something, but they couldn't stop the drama that affected the whole nation. So naturally, you find out that Pharaoh wasn't impressed, behind all that. All right, and so the 26th verse, and the Lord spoke unto Moses, go unto Pharaoh and say unto him, thus said the Lord, let my people go, that they may serve me. And if thou refuse to let them go, behold, I will smite all the borders with frogs, and the rivers shall swarm with frogs, which shall go up and come into thy house, into thy bedchamber, and upon thy bed, and into the house of thy servants, and upon thy people, and into thy ovens, and into thy kneading troughs, and the frogs shall come up both upon thee, and upon thy people, and upon all thy servants. A lot of times we play down how treacherous, how rough this particular plague was. Now, all the things that we're going to read about could be explained away, but they come up, not explained away, that's the wrong term, can be rationalized of natural occurrences. But when you look carefully in the scriptures, and I don't have time to really point out every little thing, is that you'll find out that though you can rationalize it, it's stated when in time, and we're going to get to certain things, and it's to find out that it's such a great thing that goes on that it had to be a God, outside force that's the control what we call nature in the world. But as we look forward to it, that the magicians did the same thing about the frogs with their secret arts and brought out frogs from the land. And then Pharaoh called, the 4th verse in the 8th chapter, then Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and said, entreat the Lord that he take away the frogs from me and from my people, and let the people go, that they may sacrifice unto the Lord. And Moses said unto Pharaoh, how have thou this glory over me? Against what time shall I entreat for thee, and for thy servants, and for thy people, that the frogs be destroyed from thee and thy houses, and remain in the river only? And he said, against tomorrow. Now, that's a rough thing. If I got a problem, do I want to wait till the next day? Then I want to go to sleep with the problem. Sometimes when we have issues, man, we go to sleep with the issue. So why would I go to sleep with a problem that's at my door now? And then one of the things I wanted to point out too as we're going forward, anytime God said, we always had this song, let my people go. God never said, just let them go without a purpose. And we got to always bear that in mind. Said, tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. To do what? To do what? And this is important about the Exodus, because when the Creator always said, let my people go, that they have a job waiting on them. And this is what we tend to forget. It ain't just let me go. I got a mission. I got a job waiting for me up ahead. So a lot of times we just think about, go down, Moses, tell Pharaoh, let my people go. And we stop right there all the time, and we talk about, the bondage, we talk about everything else, but we don't talk about the job. And this is what we got to focus on, our purpose, our job. That's what we got to focus on. And God always said we had a job. He didn't just say, let them go and just, run them up. Let them run to their own devices. He telling Pharaoh from Jump Street. He told Moses from Jump Street that the people have a job and a mission. It ain't just the promise that we're talking about, but it's the job and the mission. And then the third plague, I'm just going to touch on that in a minute. It said, the 12th verse, and it said, and the Lord said unto Moses, saying to Aaron, stretch out thy rod and smite the dust of the earth, that it may become gnats throughout all the land of Egypt. And they did so. And Aaron stretched out his hand with his rod and smote the dust of the earth. And there were gnats upon man and upon beast, and all the dust of the earth became gnats. There's always controversy about exactly what this is. But anyway, throughout all the land of Egypt, and the magicians did so with their secret arts to bring forth gnats, but they could not. And they were gnats upon man and upon beast. Then the magician said unto Pharaoh, this is the finger of God. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hearkened not unto them as the Lord had spoken. So the magician said, look here, we done. We was able to, demonstrate in the palace. We was able to demonstrate at the river. We was even to say, look here, we could bring forth, call forth frogs out of, from wherever their abode was. But we cannot create this kind of life force. And this is just a finger of God, not even a hand. Because God said he's going to bring us out of Egypt with an outstretched arm and a mighty hand, with a strong hand. So this mighty hand, the Egyptians said, look, we realize now nobody got no stuff like this here. We can't do it. And why? It will appear easy. The Aaron made it look so easy when he struck the ground that how can Aaron do this here? It ain't like he been missing for 40 years or missing out on the run. He never demonstrated that kind of power. So how is he able to do this? We can't be outdone. But they couldn't do that. And they recognize it. And plus it's attacking them. And then when we get to the fourth plague, we know the fourth plague, I'm gonna skip on through that the plague of the flies, which is the fourth one. And it goes on to tell you, now, rise up early in the morning and stand before Pharaoh, coming forth to the water, and say to him, thus said the Lord, let my people go, that they may serve me. Else, if thou wilt not let my people go, behold, I will send a swarm of flies upon upon thee, and upon thy servants, and upon thy people, and into thy house. And the houses of the Egyptians shall be full of swarms of flies, and also the ground whereon they are. And I will set apart in that day the land of Goshen, in which my people dwell, that no swarms of flies shall be there, to the end that thou may knowest that I am the Lord in the midst of the earth. And I will put a division between my people and thy people. By tomorrow shall this sign be. Now, this is the first time he gave an actual time of a plague coming. So you find a lot of different nuances as you study the book. Before that, it was no actual time given, but he said he gave an actual time on when it's going to happen. And he said a difference between my people and the Egyptians. Could that be the reason why Pharaoh hardened his heart so easily? Said, well, you're talking about your people. You're talking about God's people. They suffering the same way we suffering. We ain't got water. We having a rough time with water. They having a rough time with water. We got frogs. They got frogs. We got lights all up on us. They got lights all up on them. So how you going to tell me about your God? You know, why should I acquiesce to your God when your people's getting beat down just as bad as my people? You know, I'd rather it just be over there. And so, and you got to ask the question, why did we have to suffer along with the Egyptians for 3 other plagues? You know, that's something to discuss. Why we had to suffer? And could that also be another contributing factor to Pharaoh making his own heart hard and stubborn, simply because it ain't just me going through this. And we used to have a saying, misery love company. And we ain't too careful about who we choose. So this is one of the things here. Then I'm just going to just talk. I'm not going to go through the rest of the plagues. But when we look at some of the plagues, I like to just deal with the last one, after 7, the plague of hell. All right, so I'm going to the last part of that plague. We just going to it a little deeper. All right, 22nd verse of the 9th chapter. It says, and the Lord said unto Moses, stretch forth thy hand towards heaven. All right, that before that plague too, I just want to speak on the actual thing about the boils. I mean, the ashes. Some of the miracles I always like to point out, when Aaron took 2 handfuls of soot, he took 2 handfuls of soot and stuff like that. And when he took the 2 handfuls of soot, and Moses took 2 handfuls of soot. So my hands are full. I got 2 handfuls of dust, or soot, whatever, you know, burnt charcoal stuff. I got 2 handfuls. My hands are full. And Aaron's hands are full. How can I put all 3 hands in one hand when each hand is full already? That's amazing in itself. And then how could it stack up like that? And then when you say it tossed it up to heaven, you can't toss, anybody that had a fireplace or dealt with ashes in the spot, how can you toss it up? Once you move your hand, it's gonna start to, go wherever way they go. So these are some of the things and some of the miracles that's being done, where we don't see. But I want to focus on this last one, the hell. And the Lord said to Moses, stretch forth thy hand towards heaven, that they may be held in the land of Egypt, upon man, upon beast, and upon every herb of the field throughout the land of Egypt. And Moses stretched forth his rod towards heaven, and the Lord sent thunder, hail, fire, and ran down unto the earth. And the Lord caused the hail upon the land of Egypt. So there was hail and fire flashing up amidst the hail, very grievous, such has not been seen in all the land of Egypt, since it became a nation. And the hail smote throughout all the land of Egypt, all that was in the field, both man and beast. And the hail smote every herb of the field, and broke every tree of the field. Only in the land of Goshen, where the children of Israel was there no hail. And Pharaoh sent and called for Moses and Aaron, and said to them, I have sinned this time. The Lord is righteous, and I and my people are wicked. I always like to focus on that verse there, because what we find here is that Aaron, Pharaoh is a wordsmith. As I picked that up from my younger daughter. It's a wordsmith, because said you could phrase it said the Lord and I are righteous, and my people. That's the problem. It ain't me. It's the people. I could push it behind the people, and why would not be far-fetched? To think of it like that in the wordsmith game. The way he do it, because when we talk about the first plan that had the males killed, that was only between him and the midwives. Y'all go handle that. That's not a national policy. But when I see it's not being handled, then now I'm making a national policy. So it would seem like this is a ploy, and he would hide behind it. Only later on he talked about how bad he sinned. But this one, the first time he mentioned that he was wrong. All right, and then but I like where Moses tells him, in reference to that, and Moses said in the 29th verse, and Moses said unto him, as soon as I'm going out of the city, I will spread forth my hands unto the Lord. The thunders shall cease, neither shall there be any more hail, that thou mayest know that the earth is the Lord. But as for thee and thy servants, I know that you will not fear the Lord God. All right, I'm gonna stop right there in that particular portion, because it's a little long. But it's not just Pharaoh that had this hatred for us. It's also his servants feeling that same way. Moses came to the realization that Pharaoh ain't the only one that's acting up like that. Pharaoh ain't the only one that had the hard heart. His close buddies, they had that same kind of spirit concerning us. And one of the things is this the only time that the plague is actually given a stall plague, when they talk about you have thunder, ice, and fire mixed up, two opposing elements. And the thunder, the noise, enough as the thunder could actually scare you and shake you up. Thunder and sound can actually, break things as well. So you have all that going on. And the word they use for rain here is matar, where normally we use the word geshem. All right. So when you use the word matar, it's usually directly, it's God influence. When you use the word geshem, we would say, okay, it could be, let me explain this way, like a process of condensation. Water come around, evaporate, and come on back down. That's it, something like that. But usually when you talk about matar, like the flood, the Mabul, the flood, the deluge, it's strictly the Creator actually doing drama to us. When you talk about get the rain in the season, it's usually matar. All right, so those are some of the nuances, and we'll go straight to Proverbs, the 14th chapter, 34 verses. I'm see about much I could speak on in that area there.
We're in the book of Proverbs, chapter 14, verse 1.
Uh-huh.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
It reads, every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands.
Okay.
He that
Keep going.
walketh in his uprightness feareth Yahweh, but he that is perverse in his ways despiseth him. In the mouth of the foolish is a rod of pride, but the lips of the wise shall preserve them.
Okay, hold it right there. Go further. All right. Now let's look at the first one. All right. When they talk about a wise woman builds, her house, and we talk about. I mentioned Jochebed. Her name itself is also a unique meaning. Yo or Yah, for a prefix or a short part of, the tetragrammaton Yah. Like you see in it, and bed is actually honor or glory. So it's like Yah is glory. That's what the name actually means. Yah is glory. And so when we think about her name, even Moses' father name Amram, a great people, a multitude of people and a great people. So when you think about these different names that's used in the book, she was a wise woman, and it said wise woman builds her house. That means she'll try to make sure it's enhanced. She'll keep it stable. She'll make sure everything is in its proper place. But it goes on that that a foolish woman, pluck it down with her own hands and say, well, why would you tear some place down that you live? Simply because neglect and don't care where you place certain things. Everything got to be placed in a certain area. Everything got to be set in a house decently and in order. Just like the tabernacle itself was structured, everything must be structured. And when you don't have structure, you're gonna have chaos. So that's why I'm talking about a wise woman. And they say, well, if they say a wise woman, builds a house, she ain't got no hammer and nail. She don't have a board and brick and laying bricks and stuff like that. What it is she actually concerned about how to enhance it, how to make it stable. And that's not just the physical building, but also the people that was in it, that dwells there. But go ahead, continue.
Verse 4, it reads, where no oxen are, the crib is clean, but much increases by the strength of the ox.
Okay, right then and there. Let's stop right there. All right. That means that when you have an ox is like work. You got to put work in. If you don't put work in, you don't have anything, to gain from laziness, idleness. The ox itself, if you're feeding the ox, you could prosper from its strength. They're using what they did in antiquity. If you had an ox, it was worth a lot of money, and you're working it. Even so much so that the ox wages is that you can't muzzle him when he tread the corn. That's his wage. You can't tell him what his salary is going to be. He'll let you know what his salary is by how much he eat and how hard he worked. So if you don't have no ox, if you don't have no input into the enterprise of your house or your household, then you don't expect anything to be there. And just looking back on the second verse is that he that walketh in his uprightness feareth the Lord, but he that is perverse in his ways despises him. In other words, some people, Pharaoh, had a hatred for God. And you might say, well, he hate God? Yes, he hate God. The way he went through this stuff, the way he looked and reviewed and viewed God, and viewed God's people, and viewed God's wonders. That's what he hate. And Pharaoh had such a great pride, such an individual. Let's go ahead.
Verse 5, it reads, A faithful witness will not lie, but a false witness breatheth forth lies.
Well, next verse.
A scorner seeketh wisdom, and findeth it not, but knowledge is easy unto him that have discernment.
Okay, right then and there. So one of the thing about faithful witnesses, all right. Some people, but a false witness breathes forth lies. First of all, how we know a false witness breathes forth lies? Because he didn't see anything. So what are you testifying to? So that's very simple. If you didn't see it, you don't know anything about it. You wasn't there, wasn't present. Because the witness, I mean, you got to have eyes on it. All right. So, and some parts might say hearing, and you got to hear it as well, and know where it's coming from. So, what makes a false witness breathe his lies? Because he's trying to make himself important. Because a witness is important in an individual's life, either for good or for bad. So if a guy a witness, he already have a status of importance. And when you breathe forth lies, you're trying to make yourself more important, but you're doing that to hurt people. Or even if you call yourself trying to save somebody by a lie, and you're still, you're still hurting and destroying justice. Because sometimes we just think of a false witness as trying to help the individual get in trouble, but a false witness could also be an individual that help save somebody that's actually is corrupt. So we only think of it in one side. Continue.
Verse 7, it reads, Go from the presence of a foolish man, for thou wilt not perceive the lips of knowledge. The wisdom of the prudent is to look well to his way, but the folly of fools is deceit. A man's pleadeth for fools, but among the upright there is goodwill.
All right.
The heart knoweth its own bitterness, and with its joy no stranger can intermeddle.
Okay, hold on right there. First of all right, we had to talk about first of all a lot of things about hanging around and say, well, I know he's gonna say something smart. I know he's gonna say something wise, but this dude is a fool. But I'm gonna hang around and listen to him. Now, it's okay if you say, I want to hear some comedy. You're looking for entertainment. But the entertainment, and it's a such thing as a healthy entertainment, and the such thing as a bad entertainment. One of the, I look at a few of the comedians and stuff that be out there today. Most people are familiar with, but now they got this big controversy with Cat Williams, and as you're coming against all these other different comedians, Steve Harvey and the entertainer Cedric and different guys like that. He always say, my job is to tell the truth, find the truth, and tell y'all about the truth. And so he calls himself reporting true. Now, sometimes it could be in a comical way, but it could be also in a disparaging way. And we don't know if it's true or not. This is his testimony on certain areas. He say he got the proof, but we know in that world of entertainment, is with the open door, and it's with the closed door situations. We don't know, but his thing was, even though he's a comedian and a professional comedian, that he said, my job is to find out the truth and tell y'all about the truth. And sometimes the truth be kind of comical, but sometimes the truth also defames the individual, as well as the falsehood defame the individual. All right, continue.
Verse 11. The house of the wicked shall be overthrown, but the tent of the upright shall flourish. There is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death.
That's something. Everybody have, they had this saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Say intentions. So, well, why is he going to hell if he had good intentions? That's what you got to ask first. If there's good intentions, why is he going to hell? All right. If you have good intentions, you mean to do well, and you actually as a good individual, God could save you out of any calamity. if you mean to do well and you're thinking you're doing well. But if you out to hurt somebody, all right, to try to create problems, and you say, well, it's simply because it's my vanity. I want to be the one. See, some people like to say, I want to be the one to be the actual savior. I want to be the one that actually was the rescue on the guy that they owe me for rescuing them. So this is some of the things we got to watch out for. But continue.
Verse 13, it reads, even in laughter the heart acheth, and the end of mirth is heaviness.
All right, right. So sometimes a guy could laugh, but he could be sad. A guy be crying, but it be tears of joy. So sometimes the outer appearance, you can't tell all the time from the outer appearance of an individual what his real makeup is. Because a lot of times a person will put on a what we call, a poker face. You put on that poker face. You laugh and you be upset, angry, but you can't act at the time, on the situation. So you hold that in. And then you could be, in a sense, crying, but you could be crying so much for joy, of an individual. And people might think, what you crying for? You sad? You upset? So that's saying you just can't go on a person's outer appearance, what he projects outwardly. You got to look deeper than that. All right, continue.
Verse 14 reads, the dissembler in heart shall have his fill from his own ways, and a good man shall be satisfied from himself.
Keep going.
The thoughtless believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his going.
All right. In other words, I just can't take that on face value. I got to check this out. I got to investigate. That's only that's what the prudence is. But keep going.
Verse 16. A wise man feareth and departeth from evil, but the fool behaveth overbearingly and is confident.
All right. So the wise man said, look at this danger in the water. I'm not going out there. All right. But a fool himself, behaves, overbearing, and he's super confident. Nothing happened to me. And you got people like that. They figure, oh, don't worry about it. Hey, run that light. Run that red light. Oh, no, ain't nobody out here. What you say on the light, boy? Ain't nobody out here. 3 o'clock in the morning. That light ain't stopping nobody. Look at it. You see anybody coming? You see the traffic there? Just go ahead, run the light. Light ain't gonna change no way. So you're gonna find people like that. Go ahead, continue.
It reads, he that is soon angry dealeth foolishly, and a man of wicked devices is hated.
Okay. If you got short fuse, you're gonna act reckless. You're gonna act reckless. The man that rules the spirit is better than one that taketh the city. So you can have a short fuse. Some people marvel at their temperament being hot. I know people like that. I grew up around people that I've seen that they get ticked off, inflamed over little stuff, and they like that because what's strange is that they mostly exercise that with somebody they think they have more power over. They usually don't. They usually don't exercise that amongst other gladiators per se. Okay? So continue.
Verse 18, the thoughtless come into possession of folly, but the prudent are crowned with knowledge.
Okay, keep going.
The evil bow before the good, and the wicked at the gates of the righteous.
All right. So the perpetrators of the greatest outrage usually make some bow. All right. But hypocrisy, hypocritically, in the directions of the righteous, and as it is paid, in the direction of the righteous. When we look at the direction of the righteous, there's acts. There's an act. He will act on something that's positive. All right. Keep going. 20.
Verse 20 reads, the poor is hated even of his own neighbor, but the rich have many friends.
Keep going.
He that despiseth his neighbor sinneth, But he that is gracious unto the humble, happy is he.
Okay, now another one's right then and there. All right, this guy lived next to you. You despise him. For what? Why you hate him so bad? All right. But if you're gracious to the humble, all right, then you're happy because first of all, like then the thing is that you care. When you show care, when we were reading about this particular sidra, Moses was upset. He was upset, but he's looking at the people that's being oppressed, and he said, "I'm like contribute. I'm part of the contributory to their hurt. Why you sent me? Why you sent me? Things. I mean, these people here are really getting beat down worse. The way they can't even listen to me because sometimes a person can get beat down so low that they will tolerate those things that not that's intolerable. That's how people do. You can get beat down so low you tolerate the intolerable. It's like people that be you see people that be homeless after a while. You say, well, when did they start being homeless? When they start eating out of garbage cans? When they start wearing, like newspapers and all this other kind of stuff, and then they clothes ragged and sleep up on the streets and don't have to worry about the rodents and stuff or the bugs. You could get into a space like that. So when Moses sees the people that's being oppressed, oppression can make a person say, "I'll take anything you throw at me." Most of us that look at the Exodus story, and we think about the Exodus, we think about this time of Martin Luther King. Because most people be celebrating Martin Luther King this week. By the time you see this program, it's already passed. But it's about oppression, and a lot of the things that Martin Luther King spoke on is concerning the Exodus. And he wrote about the people that's being enslaved, the people that's being oppressed, and he shows a lot of the Exodus in some of his writings and some of his speeches to identify with the people that is oppressed and for no apparent reason to be oppressed. But let's go on a little further. Let's finish this out. I see how my time is up.
Verse 22, it reads, shall they not go astray that devise evil? But mercy and truth shall be for them that devise good.
Keep going.
In all labor there is profit, but the talk of the lips tendeth only to penury. The crown of the wise is their riches, but the folly of fools remaineth folly. A true witness delivereth souls, but he that breatheth forth lies is all deceit. In the fear of Yehudah.
So now, when we talk about labor, and we talk about that nature, we talk about Adam. Most people in ancient society figure labor was like a curse, because they said Adam had to work extra hard. He had a cushy job. So most people went from hard work when actually, it's actually a thing where it's a building. You find out what you're really made of. You know what I mean? And it's dignity in what you do. Even talking about King, said, you're gonna be a janitor, be the best janitor. You're gonna be a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper. David said, he'd rather be at a doorkeeper at the house of the Lord. So just whatever job you is, be happy with it, whether it's hard or whether it's easy. Be the best at it. Keep going.
Verse 26, it reads, in the fear of Yehovah a man hath strong confidence, and his children shall have a place of refuge.
Keep going.
The fear of Yehovah is a fountain of life, to depart from the snares of death.
Keep going.
And the multitude of people is the king's glory, but in the want of people is the ruin of the prince.
In other words, right in there, you can't be a king without no people. All right, you can't be a king, and plus you got to have a kingdom. All right, and a prince. If nobody will listen to you, then what good is you? Nobody want to hear anything you got to say. And you could be, of royal status, but if nobody listens to you, that royal status means nothing. Nothing at all. And people will tell you, that means nothing over here. Depends on your character. All right. So in other words, it's how well you relate to people is your status based on. That's basically what it's saying. It's not because you got this status or title, it's how well you relate. Because kings and princes, leadership is actually a servant for people. So how well you serve and relate to people. 29.
Verse 29, it reads, he that is slow to anger is of great understanding, but he that is hasty of spirit exalteth folly.
Keep going.
A tranquil heart is the life of the flesh, but envy is the rottenness of the bones.
In other words, if you calm, you know what I mean? If you envy of an individual, it's saying that jealousy, is cruel to the grave, but who alone could stand before envy? See, jealousy is one level, but envy, the person don't have to be nowhere around. It could just be a thought of the individual that you talk with, you really ticked off with. All right. So in other words, when you get angry, actually, you get heart problems. Your heart beat too fast, irregular. Some people get so angry or so upset. We have an example of one guy named Nebal. He was upset that his wife saved his life. They was on the way there. And next thing you know, he had a coronary thrombosis, as we say, heart failure. So some people could get upset strictly because of what they, of the evil. So you got to be able to control your temperament. Keep going. Three more verses.
Verse 31. He that oppresseth the poor blasphemeth his maker, but he that is gracious unto the needy honoreth him. The wicked is thrust down in his misfortune, but the righteous, even when he is brought to death, have hope. In the heart of him that have discernment, wisdom resteth, but in the inward part of fools it maketh itself known. Righteousness exalteth a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people.
And that's what we close on. Righteousness. One more verse. Sorry. Yeah, I'm ready to get up.
The king's favor is towards a servant that dealeth wisely, but his wrath striketh him that dealeth shamefully. Hallelujah.
Okay. Hallelujah. Yeah. The thing is that righteousness exalts a nation. That's what I want to focus on there. And the sin is a reproach to any people. That means that if you have not only other people that recognize you and deal with you, but also the Creator works with you if you're righteous with an individual. So I hope you got something out of what I said. I know I'm a little long. I went a little bit over, but there was some things I just say, well, since it's the week of the Martin Luther King week, and coming through, and also this particular month, Shabbat, is actually a month that say like when they plant trees and everything like that. It's also it's a series, a traditional series. I wanted to share this with people. Is that when you open up the book of Shemot, six sidras for 6 weeks. Some people have a tradition. I don't do it, but it's a tradition that some people do, where they fast on Mondays and Thursdays for the 6 weeks during the daytime. For the 6 weeks, dealing with those 6 sidras, all the way from Shemot all the way to Mishpatim, and those 6 sidros. And it's because when we finally reach our most highest point, from the time of slavery to the time of the Exodus, when we get to Mount Sinai and we get to speak revelations and we get the civil laws. So those are just some of the things that you might encounter around various communities during this particular time. But it's important for those people to go over, especially the Proverbs, the 14 chapters. I didn't elaborate as much as I wanted to elaborate on there. And I'll try to spend a little bit more time in the Proverbs. With just so much stuff going on with the Exodus. And when you deal with the Exodus, that's a story you tell every year, no matter how much you study it. You got to rehearse and teach that story over and over again. And we're the first nation that actually was liberated by a creator. So with that, I say Shalom Aleichem, early Shabbat Shalom, and the mistakes been my own.
Hallelujah. Torah about Nasik. May the Creator bless you and keep you. And shalom to everyone out there. May the Most High God be with you all. Shalom, shalom. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Let's get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the